This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. This week, Adam and I got an opportunity to record a little bit earlier on the day that all the massive news broke for the Detroit Lions. So this podcast will be a comprehensive look at what the hell the Detroit Lions are doing. They made news on Tuesday in regards to finally ending the speculation regarding the futures of Bob Quinn and head coach Matt Patricia. But if you follow SI Lions Maven and the Detroit Sports Podcast, we told you this at the beginning of the month.
I was going to say, isn't this speculation that you helped drum up?
At the end of the day, look, all the signs that pointed when you looked at them told you that they were coming back. Way too much money left on their contracts. Second year, Matthew Stafford got hurt. Whether or not you agree with the reasoning that they're coming back, those were the reasons, and those were the reasons that were, quite frankly, told to me. I reported on it, and that's what happened. And so if you follow Detroit Sports Podcast, you follow SI Lions Maven, you realize, hey, we're going to put out information regarding the Detroit Lions that's going to be as spot on and as journalistically ethical as possible, and we're going to put out information that brings you guys in the know, because I'm out there at Allen Park as much as they allow me to be out there, and I report on what I know. So,
and to lift the curtain a little bit, you have ruffled some feathers with the Lions brass, and you know what? I'm proud of you for doing it. So, like, those guys, honestly, go kick rocks. You just want to control the narrative. You want to control what is out there. You are doing your job, and you're doing a fantastic job. You are doing a hell of a job, so I want to applaud you.
And I think the people that follow us, follow SI Lions Maven, follow the Detroit Sports Podcast, recognize I'm not doing PR. I don't have to. They got a whole team of people that will tell everybody how great the Lions are. My job is to tell the truth, and along the way, I've told the story in which it's been fair and honest. I bring both sides of it. I have people that are definitely fact-based that want to bring information about the Lions. I have people that bring strong opinions. And so that's what you get at SI Lions. May even take it or leave it. Until they remove me, that's what you get. And look, at the end of the day, it is not unbeknownst to me that maybe the things I'm writing or saying might ruffle some feathers, and that's okay because it's a learning process. I will learn and I will continue to grow in the job at hand, and my job is to bring you guys information regarding the Detroit Lions in the best way possible that I know how, and that's the job at hand, and that's what I've been doing. And if you followed along, I told you along the way that signs pointed to and sources told me that they were coming back. And what happened was it was kind of interesting in that it was reported at the beginning of the month that they were likely to come back. And then what started happening, more support came that kind of echoed the same thing, which was like, did you guys read it? And then just kind of, formulate it. But then head coaches started coming out, which my sources said, they said that, hey, he's got a lot of support around the league, which then Dick Vermeil comes out, Chris Spielman comes out. Come on now, guys. It's not that difficult to read between the tea leaves. And at the end of the day, they've come back, and it was announced on Tuesday. General Manager Bob Quinn, head coach Matt Patricia, year 3. Your reaction?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, you can't be surprised.
I'm not surprised by this. I'm not happy about it, but I'm not surprised by it. Watching that game on Sunday versus the Tampa Bay Bucks, I was sitting on my couch, and I looked over at my stepdad, and I said, how does this bum come back? How does he come back? His players weren't out there even playing for this guy. He had to go to the sideline, grab these guys, and beg them to put some effort out there. Because before you knew it, they were down 21-0. That defense was getting cut up, and he had to go beg these guys, please, guys, go put your helmet on and try to tackle somebody. What does that tell you about this locker room? If this locker room isn't so fractured and these guys don't want to play for this man who is the head coach of this football team, I don't know what else you need to see. Honestly, this makes me so upset because you're setting yourself up for a tough situation next year, right? You're going to let this guy come back. This locker room has already been alienated by him time and time again. This locker room does not want to play for him. It's blatantly obvious. It was blatantly obvious from Jump Street in that first quarter against the Tampa Bay Bucks. It was blatantly obvious with 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the first quarter that this team did not want to play for him. It was obvious in the second quarter, all the way through it. It was obvious headed into that third quarter, and this team didn't start playing until halfway through that third quarter when they were like, all right, cool, I guess we should maybe go try. We've got fans in the stands, and people are starting to boo. There were people at this game with bags on their head that said same old Lions. If this isn't reminiscent of the Matt Millen era, I don't know what else you need, Martha. I'm not 100% sure. You're sitting on stacks and stacks of Donald Duck money, of Scrooge McDuck money. You've got a freaking vault that you take all your clothes off in and you go swimming in. And your wrinkled titties sit there, pick up the coins. Come on. I know you got the cash. Pay these guys to leave. Get somebody in here who knows what they are doing. Honestly, it is unbelievable to me that this team goes from being 9-7 under Jim Caldwell, being essentially a half a game away from getting into a playoff spot, to then going 6-10, and now if everything plays out the way it's going to play out, they will be 3-12-1. I get that Matt Stafford's hurt, and I get if he was around, you'd won a couple more games. But you know what? That offense isn't the problem. When you had a second-string quarterback in there, that offense looked pretty productive for having a guy who you had to go and bring in off the sidelines, go dust him off of a couch. You basically found him laying in between some couch cushions with some quarters, and you're like, oh, cool, you look serviceable. Let's roll you out there. And next thing you know, the guy's putting up touchdowns for you. So the offense isn't the problem here. It's the defense. The defense has let this team down time in and time out. Time and again, it has been the defense that has been the nail in this team's coffin this season. Who runs the defense? It's Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia runs this defense. These guys do not want to play for him. On top of it, go back to Bob Quinn. Going into this year, we talked about a backup quarterback. We said this team needs to address the backup quarterback. Bob Quinn was like, nah, it's okay. We're going to go mess around with Tom Savage, who can't play. We're going to go mess around with a couple guys that we got off a bushel bin who can't play. And in the end, you have to go out and you have to trade for a backup quarterback who then gets hurt in Jeff Driscoll. And then you've got to use David Blau, who was David Blows against the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, this all falls on Bob Quinn. Do you know what I'm saying? This team is a complete and utter mess. So does it surprise me that they're coming back? Absolutely not. Not in the slightest bit, because Martha Ford and everybody at the top are Scrooge McDucks, and they do not want to part with the money that it would cost to send these guys far, far away. So they will get one more year. But to me, it seems like this locker room has been fractured and is broken.
The way you put it is this, okay? And I did ask Trey Flowers this question, Danny Amendola the same question. When the former players came out and started bashing Matt Patricia, I went to Trey Flowers because he's the most staunch supporter. And I asked him, I said, look, is it fair to say that, Matt Patricia is a tough-nosed coach and things like that? He said, yes. And it will, and the manner in which he coaches can rub people the wrong way, okay? But at the same time, Flowers and Amendola say he's more than fair. He does care about us. He is someone that has this attitude that, hey, I understand what's going on. I've come from New England. I have this belief in myself that if I instill something, it will work. Now, here's the challenge. You cannot get 50 people to buy into the yelling and the screaming, especially when the losses rack up, okay? It will get irritating. Even the most staunch supporter would not like to get yelled at each and every time you make a mistake or each time that something happens. And so it's a manner in which Trey Flowers said, look, I was always taught that just hear the words. I don't care about the message. And he's fine with it. Can you get 40 productive players in 2019, 2020 to buy into that? I don't think so. I think that's the toughest part, is that I think the biggest struggle that Matt Patricia is now going to have is when Bob Quinn gives him these people, can you instill a system in 8 months? And here's the problem. If a couple people go down, I don't think so. I don't think that in 3 years that you can instill it. And that's the problem, is that you're not going to have 50 Pro Bowlers.
But look at this roster. This roster has almost completely flipped over.
And there are some talented players. That's the biggest problem, is that why is the defense so bad when it's your system? And you got to kind of, at this point in time, for Matt Patricia to have success, if you want to be here for 10 years, you got to put a system in place that, hey, if Tracy Walker goes down, the next man up can come in and actually look like he can produce on the field. You can't have it where if Matthew Stafford goes down or a couple guys go down, then you're going to lose 10 games in a row. That never works.
Right.
And it's just, I think, a long shot that it's going to work. But I agree. He should come back. 3 years, give him a fair shake, another draft class with Bob Quinn. You're going to have now an opportunity. This was planned too. At the end of the day, this doesn't happen in 24 hours, guys. They already knew once Stafford went down, they're in a complex for 16 hours a day. What do you think they do all day? That's a lot of time to plan. So they are planning, they said, and I told you guys last week, they're tanking without tanking. And they can't come out and say that. And I think people are never going to buy that. They can't lose 7 games and look that bad on defense. It doesn't give you a leg to stand on. But right now, the Lions are in position next year to at least have a fair shot to make the playoffs. They're going to have a top 5 pick. They're going to have opportunities in free agency. And I do think with a healthy Matthew Stafford and another year under Bevel, this team, guys, right now, and you look at that schedule, there's 8 wins in there. Look at the schedule. You can go find it right now. 17, their opponents are pretty much all set. 15 of the 16 games are pretty much all set. There's one more opponent remaining on their schedule they got to figure out. I think there's a chance for hope.
I think you make a great point, right? I don't trust Bob Quinn with the draft, though. We talked about it last week. The best player that he has drafted has been Kenny Golladay. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's one guy in 4 drafts.
Tracy Walker's not bad. He's not a bad guy.
But he's a guy.
Jelani Tavai could turn out to be someone.
He's a guy too. These are just guys. They're good because this roster is so damn bad. If you were another team, who'd you go out there and want? There's one guy on this team that you would want, and that's Kenny Golladay. Like, that's the one guy that Bob Quinn has brought in that you would be like, yeah, that's a dude we want. And Kenny Golladay has his flaws. He doesn't get enough separation from defensive backs. That's his big issue. It's a really good thing that he's an athletic freak, and he's genetically gifted enough to be able to go up and high point balls, and he's long enough to be able to get those. The company that I'm with currently, all right, I'm very lucky to have the position that I have at the job that I have, right? Even though I did get passed over for a promotion, I'm quite pissed off about it. Ruined my entire day. Very pissed. They spend a lot of money in grooming leaders, right? And basically everybody who is part of a management team, you go through extensive leadership training. And through all of this leadership training that I've gone through, and things that I've been that I've either had to read or that I've attended with different seminars, everything always kind of comes back to 1, 2, maybe 3 different things that are key. And one of those is you have to be adaptive, because your message has to get through to whoever it is that's on the other end. So when you communicate, there has to be a giver and a receiver, right? And sometimes the way you give that message has to be tweaked so the person on the other end receiving it understands what you want or is more receptive to hearing it. Matt Patricia is his own worst enemy. He is not adaptive enough to change what he does or his style or the manner in which he coaches. And that's a problem. That is a huge problem, because there are givers and receivers when you communicate. And if Matt Patricia is going to be so staunch and he's going to be so stubborn and so pig-headed that he will not, 1, adapt his system, or 2, change the way he communicates with his players, they're going to shut you out. And the guys who you need to work for you, the guys who you need to do stuff for you so you can maintain your job and maintain your position. Because when it's all said and done, the one thing that a head coach has to do is get wins. It's all about W's over L's. He has to get wins. And if the guys on the other end aren't receiving the message, or they just don't care because they tuned you out because they don't like you, you're going to lose. You're going to crush this franchise. And that's a problem. That's a massive, massive problem. So what are you going to do? You're just going to ship everybody out of here who has talent? Anybody who questions you? Anybody who might see things just a little bit different, you're not going to be receptive to them because they're raising their hand and they're saying, "Hey, coach, this might be a red flag, but I'm not sure this is going to work." Yeah, it's going to work. Why is it going to work? Because I said it's going to work. That doesn't work in real life. That doesn't work at all. Remember when you were a child and you asked your mom, "Hey, mom, why is this way?" And she just looked at you and said, "Because it is." That's the worst answer you can ever give somebody. And that's what this guy is doing to these players. These are grown-ass men making millions of dollars. They don't have to stand for this crap. And they're not. And that's what the issue is. They don't care because they're tuning you out because of the way you're presenting your message and asking them to do things for you. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not telling you you're wrong 100%. Those that are skeptical of the Lions have years to be skeptical. I mean, the fans are fed up. They can't wait anymore. And right now, the thinking and the theory and the logic is this, and the supporters of this move, and there are some. There's actually quite a few people that are messaging Detroit Podcast saying, look, you can't overhaul a regime every 2 years. You just can't. And unfortunately, the Lions also have a roster full of Patricia guys, okay? There's about a good, 15 to 20 guys that are now kind of going to make up your core next year. You're going to turn over 30% of the roster, and you're going to bring in some draft picks and some free agents. So the people that support Matt Patricia will say this. Matthew Stafford was down, and the offense was looking decent. You started 2-0-1, and in those first 3 games, you did make those critical plays late. You were able to defeat 2 teams that had quarterbacks that were playing well. And you realize, okay, that first game might have been a little bit telling in that the defense was unable to hold Arizona and they got the tie. But Matt Patricia was able to get these guys to play hard the first 3 games of the year. If you give him more talent, and now you're going to change the regime. Paul Pasqualoni is going to be shown the door. You're going to get a young, brash, hopefully maybe someone else from that same system in New England in here to coach that defense. And you're going to have, I think, Kenny Galladay. You're going to have potentially the best running back room if you bring back Scarborough and Kerryon Johnson. You're going to have a decent set of running backs. The offense should look good. If you pick up a surprise running back and you do kind of round out that offense and defense, if Matt Patricia can learn from his ways in the next 12 months and he can maybe ease up again and figure out a way to teach his system, because I know that people will dismiss Dick Vermeil and what he said, but Dave Burkett did a great job. And what Dick Vermeil said was, if you're really coaching that first year, if you really are trying to change in a manner that's going to really, take shape and have meaning, you're actually going to make the team worse because you're changing everything, the system, the message, how things are being run, and people don't pick it up that fast. And so
I get that, but this is year 2.
Year 2.
And this defense looks worse.
And sometimes he said it gets worse before it gets better.
The offense looks great. I think the offense has a lot of potential.
But
this defense looks abysmal,
That's
dude.
the biggest question we're going to ask is, Matt Patricia's defense, is it so complex that they can't even run it in a manner that, because from the sound of it, from the looks of it, you got to make a lot of decisions on the field. You got to be really bright. You got to make quick decisions, and you got to adapt really fast. And I just think that I don't know if it's a teachable system. I think it could work at the highest level if you've been in it for 5 years and you're just coming in and fine-tuning it. But if you're teaching it for the first time, if these guys are coming in here, and I kind of on the side of those ex-players, look, Glover Quinn, you saw, he was on his way out. He wasn't that good anymore. The tight end that they got to bash Matt Patricia, he was the guy that had one career reception and was just a practice squad guy that doesn't like getting yelled at. So the manner in which those guys were saying things, I think, doesn't hold a lot of weight. I think that Patricia...
but hold on, though. So this is something else that I brought up on Sunday when I was talking with my stepdad while we watched this abysmal football game.
Yeah.
I brought up Glover Quinn. And I said...
He's on his way out, and...
I know, I get it, though, but he was respected in that locker room. That locker room loved him. He was a professional from day one when he showed up here. And that defense got better with him running the secondary. You don't do that to guys. You don't do that. Earns you 0 brownie points when you're trying to bring new talent here.
But I'll say this.
Do these things.
And here's the nature of the argument. Matt Patricia will say, and he can come in and say, look, you guys were 9-7, which is good. We are willing to tear it down to the bones, or we are willing to start over in the belief that my system will get you guys a ring. In my belief that Matt Patricia is trying to sell that, hey, if we tear it down, if we teach everybody this system, you guys will be successful forever. And I don't know if you get 3. I don't know if he's going to have enough time. I think if you give him time, part of me just says, and I was mentioning it to someone, I said, I feel like I'm an idiot, but I feel like if you give him time, and maybe he is a good salesman.
I will agree with you.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
If you give him 4 or 5 years, there's maybe a chance that he could put something together at the highest of high levels, but it's a gamble. And those that will argue and debunk that have obviously the history of the world that says it won't work. But at the end of the day, he has a right to come in and say, I'm from New England. I got rings. What do you guys got?
Okay, but here's the thing.
What do they have to they stand on? Darius Slay can say, yeah, we got the Lions culture. The Lions culture was...
It's losing.
It's losing.
It's a culture of
he has
losing.
a right to come in and say, you guys aren't shit.
I totally get that, right? But how many years do you need? Because you've got a quarterback here, right? You have a quarterback. Do we both agree Matt Stafford is a pretty damn good quarterback? He's not great. He's not elite, but he's pretty damn good. Say maybe top 7 when he's healthy, maybe top 10. So you got a good quarterback here. You got a guy who you can win with. He just suffered a broken back for the 2nd year in a row. How much time do you need? Because honestly, I feel like his time is limited. How much more time do you need to build your system?
He's only got, I think, 1 more year. If it's bad, if it's 7 and 9 next year, he's out. I think, but they're both out. I think that, you know what? If you're not a fan of this move, unfortunately, it sucks for you because you're going to have to root next year for a complete collapse. Because if it all collapses next year, we're talking about starting from 0. New GM, new quarterback, new head coach, and starting all over again. So I just got a feeling next year it's probably going to be 9-7, 10-6. It might be one of those ultimate years where they go
like 11-5
and don't make the play. Exactly, 10-6 and don't make the playoffs. And then we're all left with maybe one critical mistake that he makes that makes it all challenging. And the toughest part, I think, with Matt Patricia in game, the philosophy of pressure and how much he actually pressured the quarterback is not. I just think the fans of Detroit don't like this defense.
Well,
it's hard to like it.
Well, okay, so you have a 4-man front and you only bring 4 guys. Like you do yourself no justice in disguising your pressure. You know what you're going to get like the quarterback goes to the line and he knows who he has coming at him. You do nothing to disguise your pressure. You do nothing to camouflage where it's going to come from. The guys line up and they're like, okay, cool. We just got to get to the quarterback. That's great if you're a defensive lineman. You love that. You love it because you know what it is? Every time you're putting your hand in the dirt, you're putting your head down, and you're bum rushing the quarterback, and you're trying to break through. You love that as a defensive lineman. But it does nothing to help your team because you're not confusing the quarterback. You're not giving him a secondary look. You're not changing up the scheme on him at all. Like, you can bring linebackers. It's okay. You can put 6 guys on the line. That's okay. You could drop if you wanted to. Let's just get creative here and just be really, really weird. All right. You can roll a 3-man front, right? Bring up a linebacker. Bring up another linebacker. All right, so now you've got a 5-man front. And you can send the entire house except drop your nose tackle. Now, John, mind you, your nose tackle is usually 320 pounds. That's a big dude. Drop your nose tackle into coverage to where he's playing basically the middle of the field and he's acting like your linebacker. You can do these things. Nobody ever expects this because nobody does this because generally nose tackles aren't very fleet of foot. But you could do this. I'm just a guy. And I'm just sitting across from another guy, and I'm coming up with crazy defensive schemes that probably won't work, but they're different. It's a different look. You can do different things. He does nothing different. He's so beholden that it shoots this team in the foot because quarterbacks and offensive coordinators know exactly what they're going to get. When Dak Prescott played this team, he said, I could go through my reads 2 and 3 times because we knew what they were going to throw at us. That right there is enough of an indictment. I don't believe Dak Prescott's a great quarterback. I think Dak Prescott is below Matt Stafford in the rankings. I think Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. I think he has a hell of a wide receiver in Amari Cooper, and I think he has a great offensive line, and I think he's got a hell of a running back in Ezekiel Elliott. Take all that away from him, I just think he's a very average guy. I think Matt Stafford, when you really break it down to brass tacks, I think Matt Stafford's probably a better quarterback than Dak Prescott is. But Dak is back in the pocket, and he's like, yeah, I could go through my progressions 3 times. That's insane. That's nuts. That means you've got at least 5 to 10 seconds in a pocket to go through your reads. Like you went through it once, not there. You went through it twice, not there. Hold on, I'm going to go through. Okay, cool, there it is. You just went, that's 7 seconds. That's not supposed to happen, John. It's not. And that's a big problem because your defense isn't providing the pressure that you need. That's an issue. That's on Matt Patricia. That's on Paul Pasqualoni. That's on this team. That's on this roster. When we went into the season, we said the defensive line was going to be the strength of this team. We said the D-line is going to be the strength of this team. The defensive line has been so underwhelming this year. It is probably the weakest point on this defense. It's honestly, do we have the drop of me being like, it's bad? It is so bad, dude. It's so bad.
It's so bad. So your hope level is pretty much diminished. That you think this is going to be an epic disaster, and it's going to end up being bad. It is bad. It has been bad. It always will be bad.
This is bad.
Yes, it is, Adam. This is bad.
Well, as we're recording this, man, Sports Illustrated actually just picked up my article that announced that Patricia and Quinn are gone. Or as we're recording this, Sports Illustrated just reposted my article that Quinn and Patricia are back. So it's been a good day, man. Look, at the end of the day,
let me ask you this, all right?
Doing this business, it's tough because the one part that, look, when we did this podcast is by and large, the praise was maybe 9.5 out of 10. Okay. It was like, okay, you guys are good. We like you. In this position, being that I'm, an outsider and somebody that really isn't journalistically trained in the classical sense, it's different to have eyes on you that are a little bit skeptical. You know what I mean? There's eyes, people that will write the narratives that were put out there about Maven and things like that. But at the end of the day, and what I wrote on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast was, judge me for my work. That's all I want. Don't read the narratives and things like that, because at the end of the day, if you read those narratives, a guy like me would never have a podcast. A guy like me would never have success and be able to take care of my cousin and people that I'm with and build this in a way where we could cover sports and be our own thing. So that part of it's been different in that I find myself getting anxious. Like, okay, I like to do my work. I like to put it out there, but the stuff that comes with it, what people do with it and take it, and I understand what it is. I take it seriously that the 2 letters SI are there. I don't want to be known as a content mill, okay? That's disrespectful to me. When you say that, it just means that I'm just throwing stuff up there. No, I actually go to the facility. I'll share an example, okay?
You do work.
I do work.
You do a lot of work.
And I don't know the nature of like how really great it is or not great it is, but okay, let me tell you my position, okay? You go in there and some players are great. But I'm a naturally shy kind of guy. I'm kind of just someone that's a little bit more, I'm better suited for someone to engage in the conversation and then I can give and take. I'm not someone that's so assertive and just the life of the party. So you go in there and there are certain guys who are just going to give you the pro answer, okay? And it's tough. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do this. Okay. And then to get the reaction is fascinating because of the fact that there are some people that don't like the stuff that we're doing. And I understand that part of it too. But all I will ask is that if you're following Detroit Sports Podcast, and if you're listening to this, I know that you do because we've been doing this for 6 years. If you read anything from SI Lions Maven, if you read any of the interaction from Adam and I, you read those predictions, you get into it. We're just trying to put out information that is relevant, important, and also the things that I think about. And that's period. You know what I mean? I am, somebody that's, passionate about the work that I do. It shows. I'm in that building when the game, on game day, 9 a.m., putting out videos, putting out content, reading, listening to interviews. I'm putting out a bunch of stuff. And whether or not you validate or I validate someone that puts out information, at the bottom line, it's fair. Okay, I don't just write, "Hey, fire this guy." I have someone on there that, hey, is like, "Hey, think about this," and some players do have respect for. So all I want to put out there is that it's interesting the response that you get as a podcaster covering the Lions. It's big time. The Lions are a big time facility, big time organization, and that's how I'm going to treat it. And I hope that you guys that follow it recognize that, hey, I care, I love it. I would not be podcasting on a Tuesday with my cousin if I didn't love doing this. And I think that's what comes across. And that's what I want you guys to realize is, hey, if you don't like it, I responded to someone. Someone went on their own podcast and said that I'm a effing disgrace to journalism. That's what he said. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, someone alerted me to it. I reached out to him and said, hey, read all my work from August and get back to me. That's all. I don't mind. You can critique me and listen, because there was, I don't know, I haven't shared with you, there's a lot of negativity regarding the whole situation in regards to my position with this. But at the end of the day, I do believe that I'm qualified to do this, and I'm qualified to opine about the Lions. And I am someone that is actually, at this moment, talking about it torn, because part of me sees Matt Patricia's bravado and what he can bring to the table. The man has a ring. The man was around Bill Belichick, okay? So it doesn't negate anything that he brings to the table. The question is he's got this knowledge. Can you teach it to 53 guys that may be looking at you cross-eyed, that may just look, Darius Slay said it. You're going to have 20 guys like Darius Slay that are like, yeah, I believe 80%. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, hey, if I'm making $15 million and my check comes on Thursday, do I really need to hear this dude yelling at me about getting this inside leverage and do I really have to care about this? I can get my sandwich and go home. And at the end of the day, do I really want to ball out and live this life 100% to the max? Can you get enough guys that are going to take you there? Bill Belichick, he walks in the room, and even I texted my buddy Ken. I'm like, dude, Bill Belichick walked in. There's like an aura around this guy. I'm like, I just want to stand at ease and stand at attention and be like, when you speak, I'm going to write every word down and quote every single word. Matt Patricia speaks, and you're like, can you just shave your beard, dude? Can you just put on a suit, look a little bit more like, somebody that could do this job? And he has credibility, but it's waning because of 2 bad years. And I just need to see a couple more things from him to be a little bit more credible. And I think those 2 things are, you got to teach these guys, you got to adapt that defense. You have to change it. You have to have a little bit more pressure, and you have to get, you can't let Jameis Winston throw for that many yards in the first quarter. I mean, we were talking because legendary numbers in the first quarter passing. It's unheard of, the level of ineptitude that was displayed there. You can lose, but you can't really lose like that. So going forward, what would make you start to believe in Matt Patricia? What would make you start to believe that, okay, Quinn and Patricia, friends for life, best buds tied at the hip, what could they display that would get you to say, okay, 2020, new draft class, free agents, Stafford's back, hopefully healthy. We move forward. We play a lightened schedule because we were in last place. I don't see 11-3. I don't see the San Francisco scenario in my mind, but I do see progress. I see 8-8, 9-7, and then a major decision next year. I see the ultimate decision next year where progress has been made. A lot of complaints still.
But is it progress because the schedule is so weak? Or is it progress because they're doing things on the field that are tangible, that you can point to? Because for me, that's what it would take. I would have to see it on the field. You would have to see guys starting to put it together and things starting to click. Because I don't know about you, when I watch this defense, I'm left scratching my head like, what's going on here? Like, how is nobody covering anybody? And how come my defensive line can't provide any pressure? Like, there's no pressure. So guys are just running free. So for me, I've got to see it on the field. I'd love an 8-8 record, right? Or I'd love a 10-6 record. 11-5. We're going to party on Woodward like we won something. But I got to see it on the field. I've got it. For me, it has to be done on the field. Look, we have been fools for the Wayne Fontes playoff run, right? Where Wayne Fontes would get that lightened schedule after getting blasted the year before to get a team into the playoffs so they could get shelled by somebody to only come back the following year and basically hit the repeat button where they end up 6-10 only to get a lightened schedule, end up 9-7 the following year, eke into the playoffs just to get blasted again, just to do it one more time. I don't need that. I don't want that. I need something tangible. I've got to see it on the field, and you've got to have players starting to perform. And if you're Bob Quinn, you got to start drafting guys that actually make it in this league, that other teams covet and want to go get. I haven't seen anybody like that. The one guy we keep going back to is Kenny Golladay. That's one guy. And honestly, there's probably 4 or 5 other guys ahead of him, maybe 6 in his position that are like, oh my God, we've got to have those. We got to go get that guy. You know, if you want to do right around the same age range, because I think we all agree, right? Denard Hopkins, stud. Julio Jones, still at this advanced age, stud. There are guys in this league who are still cutting it. Tyreek Hill, guys in this league who are still cutting it up, who are fantastic. So we'll go right around his age range, plus or minus a year and a half either way. I do want to ask you this, though, because this quarterback is going to be an unrestricted free agent next year.
After this season ends in a couple weeks, this guy's available?
Yes, this guy will be available.
Drew Brees?
Dude, you could have had Drew Brees years ago.
Tom Brady?
And you don't want Tom Brady. I think
okay.
He's towards the end here. But this guy has more playoff wins than Matt Stafford. He has a better passing percentage than Matt Stafford, or better completion percentage, I should say. He has a better passer rating than Matt Stafford. He has a higher yards per attempt than Matt Stafford, and almost 4 interceptions less per season played than Matt Stafford, and he's 5 years younger than Matthew Stafford. Would you be willing to go out and bring this guy in with the notion that he would be your heir apparent when Matt Stafford goes down? Because I don't know if you trust Matt Stafford next season. I don't know if he's going to get through the entire season. And if Matt Stafford struggles out of the gate, you've got the guy who's going to basically lead you into that promised land, and that guy who will give you, if you are Bob Quinn, if you are Matt Patricia, he's going to give you that time. Because remember, we already talked about it. Matt Stafford's a quarterback, but we don't know how much more time he has left. And you said, your words, you said, Matt Patricia needs time to continue to build this thing. Well, this quarterback would give you time to continue to build this thing. And then you don't have to waste a draft pick on a backup quarterback for Matthew Stafford, or the backup or the heir apparent for Matthew Stafford. Would you be willing to go out and bring this guy in for a couple free agent dollars? And would you like me to tell you who this guy is?
Ooh, curiosity's killing me. Who is it?
Marcus Mariota.
Oh.
Mariota's done in Tennessee. He's absolutely done in Tennessee. Next year, he's an unrestricted free agent. He's probably going to command something, and having that much money wrapped up in 2 quarterbacks makes this really unrealistic. But when you start looking at some of these numbers and you do a little bit of a deeper dive, he's a better quarterback than Matt Stafford statistically. I don't know if it translates on the field all that well, but statistically, he's a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford. So if you could possibly trade Matt Stafford, or if you could somehow get out from underneath some of this contract that Matt Stafford has, maybe work, in football, they don't usually have sign and trades, but work some type of sign and trade out for Marcus Mariota, you have a cornerback who's going to be gone. I believe he's going to be gone. I'm not sure how you feel about Darius Slay, but I don't think he's coming back next year.
Here's the problem. When you flame out in Tennessee, do you see the talent there that can elevate what's going on in Detroit? Do you see him fitting into Darrell Bevell's system? Do you see the skill level that it's going to require and things like that? Now,
hold up. You were the guy who wanted a running quarterback.
Yes.
You were the guy who wanted a Lamar Jackson. So Marcus Mariota has some wheels. He can run the ball. He can do that
RPO
read option. Yeah. So he can do all of this. This is why I thought this was interesting. I was watching this game on Saturday, and I was like, he's done in Tennessee. Like, he's absolutely done. They're not bringing him back. Would he fit on this team? And I was like, I know what John loves in a quarterback. He loves Lamar Jackson. Everybody loves Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is doing some crazy. He looks like a grown-ass man. They look like little boys out there. Would you bring Marcus Mariota in. And I started looking at stats. I was like, his stats are pretty solid. I was like, now how do those compare to Matt Stafford? And he's marginally better in all of those statistics I gave you. And he's 5 years younger.
I don't see a winner. I see a guy that could be serviceable, that could be taught, but do you have that it factor? Because look, Matthew Stafford hasn't won. And Matthew Stafford has all the arm talent that you need. It's just, it takes so much in this league to be a winner, okay? There's so few Lamar Jacksons. There's so few quarterbacks like Drew Brees and Tom Brady that can go out there and elevate a team. I think this guy has the skills. He has the makeup of a quarterback, but does he have the makeup of a guy that you're down 3 and it's 4th down and 7 and you need an 8-yard pass? Is he going to drop that dime in there? No, you feel like he's going to throw the interception. And it's those moments, it's those critical moments when I look at a quarterback and say, okay, is this a guy that, is regular season quarterback, gets you 9 wins, and then gets to the postseason and then can't elevate his game?
But wait, hold on. When he makes it to the when he makes it to the playoffs, his playoff numbers are better than his regular season numbers.
Why did he flame out? What has been the issue? I just think that
I do honestly,
inconsistency. You can't have a guy that's inconsistent here in Detroit.
No, you can't.
You can't have 6 games that are well and 6 games that are bad. A town like this is going to crucify you, because now here's the problem now for every other quarterback that's going to play for the Detroit Lions. They're going to be held to Matthew Stafford's. You have to have a big arm. You got to have some leadership abilities. You got to have the ability to handle all the heat. And I don't know if anybody can live up to the standard because of the fact that Stafford right now is beloved, and the fact that they finally put him on IR on Tuesday is so fascinating to me because it was a love fest. We thank him for his work, his service, his help to the young quarterbacks. We love Matthew Stafford. He's Matt Patricia says that, and Bob Quinn are always out there saying how blessed the organization is to have him and how hard he works. And that's all fine and dandy. But if you really want to make waves, there's no, guarantee that the Lions are going to focus on defense first, second, third round. They may take that quarterback. If they end up, because if they lose out Denver and Green Bay, they may end up with the number 2 pick and they may take Joe Burrow. They may take somebody. They may take the likes of a quarterback that they believe, maybe even in the later rounds, and they may develop them. They may see a scenario in which it's time to go out there and get that developmental quarterback, because I think the biggest indictment, the biggest mistake that Quinn made this year was when he had that carousel of backup quarterbacks. You ended up with Tom Savage. You ended up with, Jeff Driscoll. You ended up with quarterbacks that nobody's ever heard of. So you traded for David Blau, and yeah, he's green and things like that, but you needed to go out there and get a real quarterback. And I think that's the biggest problem is Bob Quinn has to put, and he's got to put a lot of resources into building the depth on this team, really starting at backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think you do have to address the backup quarterback position. That, I think, is the one thing going into the season that we were both surprised this team didn't do. It really, I think in the end, it really came back to bite them in the butt, right? We talked about Matt Stafford goes down, the season's over. And basically the day Matt Stafford went down, the season has been over. Not addressing the backup quarterback position, I think, has been a huge faux pas for this team. And I think it really hurt it. I think it really put it behind the 8 ball. All that being said, Bob Quinn has to get some draft picks right in this upcoming draft if these guys plan to stay on for at least another season after next season. It's already been said. It's already done. They're coming back. So whether you like it, whether you hate it, they're going to continue to build. Now you say build with finger quotes. They're going to continue to build this thing. Whether that means tearing it down and then stacking Lego blocks up and calling it something, or going out there and trying to draft players to put them in positions to succeed, or going out there spending fortunes and fortunes and fortunes of dollar bills on guys during free agency that come in are pretty average, like Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers has been pretty average this year. It'll be interesting to see what this team does and kind of how everything unfolds this offseason. Because this offseason, I think, is going to be make or break for these guys. You have to address the backup quarterback position. You have to address that linebacking core, because I'm not sure what we have with Jared Davis. You're going to have to address that secondary, because I don't think Darius Slay's coming back. I think he's going to get traded for probably a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. You have to address this offensive line because it is abysmal. They have invested so much money, so many different resources with high draft picks, and it doesn't work. Like, these guys look like turnstiles out there. They look like they're on roller skates. It's nuts. And you might have to address a running back. Let's be honest. Kerryon Johnson, When he came into the league, the question mark was, can he stay healthy? That was a question mark I raised anyways. I said, hey, can this guy stay healthy? He hasn't been able to do it at all in college. Comes to the pros, can't stay healthy at all. So he's not an every down back. He's not your featured back. He's complimentary. So is Bo Scarborough your new number one? Is that how this is going to play out? Because he's not healthy either. So what are you going to do? And in the NFL, the best availability is availability. And neither one of your running backs right now have any availability. So there's a lot of pieces right there that have to be addressed this year.
Man, what do you make of how the Lions handled it? They call in a certain select group of media members. They give them a little roundtable with Rod Wood, Martha Ford, Sheila Ford Hemp, and they have a little powwow and they handle their business. What do you think about it? Do you feel like they got out in front of it? Because it was getting to be the point where the radio station...
Everybody's been talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's been talking
daily.
about it.
It was daily questions about Matt Patricia. I feel like they kind of gave him a reprieve 2 weeks early. They could have maybe even waited 2 more weeks. Did they make a haste decision by making this decision? Did they make the wrong decision? Would you have been like more respectful of them if they blew out everybody? Would you have been maybe someone that says, why do it now? Let them take the heat. Let them understand that this is serious and you got to win.
I mean, from a talk radio standpoint, yeah, I would have loved for them to not have done this because it just gives you stuff to talk about. But I get what they did. I understand what they did. I don't know, man. You're going to keep them, right? Like, there's no way that they were going anywhere. So if that's the case, as an organization, get out in front of it, do the best thing for your coach and for your general manager. That's the best thing. You alleviate that pressure. What is done is done. What has been said. The only thing Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn can do going forward is don't mess up your draft position. Just make it better. Just make it better. You said top 5 going into this week, right? By the time it's all said and done, you need to be in the top 3, hopefully in the top 2, and then do not mess up this draft pick. I don't care if you have to trade back because let's say, Chase Young goes number 1, Joe Burrows is sitting there and somebody's like, we need Joe Burrows. I don't know if Joe Burrows is going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I have no idea. I know he just won the Heisman and I know he won it by a landslide. I don't know if he's going to be a very good quarterback. I can't tell you that right now. What I've seen makes me question a lot of things. He has essentially had one really good year. I don't know what he brings to the table at the next level. So if that's the case, right? That's the case. And there's somebody dying for that pick and they're willing to move up to grab him and you can fall back 2 or 3 or 4 slots, pick up another first-round pick next year, pick up something maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round as well for this year, you'd be an idiot not to do that. You'd be absolutely stupid. Unless you believe Joe Burrows is your franchise quarterback. Unless you believe that. Because we've already talked about Matt Stafford and maybe he has a year left, maybe he doesn't. So you have to make that decision if you are Matt Patricia and you are Bob Quinn. So it'll be interesting. I can't wait for the NFL draft.
Major Tuesday, a lot of news regarding the Detroit Lions. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Want to thank the sponsors of this broadcast, Flick Chat and the Motor City Pawnbrokers. We greatly appreciate the sponsors who support us and help us keep the studio mics hot here in our Sterling Heights studios. Going strong since 2013, making noise, kicking the door down, and having a good time each and every week. I always enjoy when I get a chance to... I always enjoy podcasting with my cousin. Brings the noise, brings the energy, and who better to break down the craziness that is the Detroit Lions than my cousin, Adam the Jock Strozinski. Follow him on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Find us again next Thursday.
See ya. Go Lions. Maybe.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.